What's up, guys? I just wanted you to see that it's me and not some crazy dubbed video. As promised, just going to do a little video here because I love the art form of driving a manual transmission. I think it's much like handwriting or cursive in that it's kind of becoming a lost art form, which I think that people's cognition suffers to a certain degree. So what I'm going to explain right now, I'm just going to kind of explain a couple things before we go because there's a lot of nuancy stuff. If you don't know how to drive a manual transmission already, I suggest you figure it out and learn first before you try to understand what this means. So first I'll tell you this that I'm driving is a 2013 Cummins turbo diesel. So it's a straight 6 motor. And a diesel motor, if you didn't know, is different than a gas motor in that it is a compression motor. It is not a combustion motor. So literally, in a regular motor, your cylinder opens, it gets filled with fuel and air, and then the spark plug sparks and it ignites all that, and that's what blows the cylinder back open. And that's where you get your power from. Versus a diesel, which is a compression motor, which means that diesel fuel isn't that flammable. Like you could throw a cigarette in it and it won't light on fire. But in a diesel motor, that cylinder gets filled with the fuel and air, and it's literally the compression of the cylinder closing in on it that causes a combustion. And then the only thing that the glow plug is there for is to burn off whatever's excess. So a little bit different. And why does that matter? That matters because over here I have my RPM gauge, and my RPM gauge redlines at about 3,100 RPMs. That's typical of a diesel because they're not high RPM horsepower motors. They're low RPM high torque motors. And that's going to be different for whatever vehicle you're driving. You got to figure out what your best shift point is in your RPMs. That's going to be way higher RPMs on a combustion motor. Like take, for example, my motorcycle that I had, V-twin. The red line on that was somewhere in the like 16,000 RPM zone. So just to give you a heads up. So first thing I'm going to show you is my stick shift is in neutral. You can shake it back and forth. It's in neutral. Foot's off the clutch. I'm not moving forward. That's obvious. Now what you can do is feel in a stick shift that you go back and forth and it is in neutral, but you can kind of press up into a little zone there. You see that? I'm not going into a gear, but it's kind of popping up into there and it's popping down into the zone. Right, so I could push it over and attempt to go into 5th gear, okay? But it's not going to go into 5th gear because my motor's running and my clutch is not engaged. So it's not going to go in there, or if it did, it would go in with a severe grind and it would have to be a really low gear. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off, and always in a takeoff you have to use your clutch because you're starting from a standstill and your motor's already running. That is usually why you'll see truckers all the way in the slow lane going extremely slow, because they will get it down to their lowest gear, but they don't want to have to take it out of that gear and use the clutch again. Now that brings me to my next point, which is the names. I called it slip shifting or slipping. Float shifting or floating is another way to term it. Another way to term it is bang shifting. Which is crazy, and I'm sure there's some other ones. Now, I'll tell you from my personal opinion, I believe that truckers use the term slip shifting and floating mostly. And terms like bang shifting, I would attribute that to race car drivers. So with all that explained, one more thing I wanted to explain also. What makes this possible to shift like this is something in the transmission called synchros. Okay, so the only downfall to shifting like this is you're trading the wear and tear you would put on your clutch for wear and tear that you're going to put on your synchros in your transmission. So that might not be good for you. But the good thing that I did learn about this, I was able to limp my truck all the way to the mechanic when my clutch went out, because this truck is geared low enough to where if I even start barely rolling forward, I can slide it into first gear. We're not on terrain to do that right now. So without any further ado, let's give this a shot. What you'll see me do is I'll take off. Oh, and one more thing. This truck is geared so low, I take off in second gear, not first gear. First gear is meant for, like if I have 6,000 pounds in a trailer behind me and I'm going up an incline. So we're going to start out in second gear with the clutch. From second on, we're not going to use the clutch at all. What we're going to do is take that second gear up to what I know is my zone between 2,000 and 2,500 RPMs. And then after accelerating, which puts some pressure on the transmission, right when we take our foot off of the accelerator, that's when we're going to take it out of gear. Because if you don't take it out of gear then, and then the motor comes down in idle, which diesels do a lot slower, if it comes down in idle and starts pressing the other way against the transmission, then it won't let you get out of gear very easily. So just know that, and that'll definitely come into play when we do a downshift as well. Downshift is a lot more difficult than upshifting. I contribute that to like going uphill. It's easier to go up a hill. You're not afraid. You're just chugging up. It's a lot more scary when you're going down a cliffside and gravity's pushing you down at an uncontrollable rate, and all you're trying to do is slow yourself to not be uncontrollable. So it's kind of a weird explanation, but anyways, so one more time without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and do this thing. I'm gonna wait for this last car to get past me here. I'm gonna throw on our blinker. Oh, by the way, because you can't see out the windows, which really sucks, I'm so sorry. Where we are right now is on PCH. So here we go, second gear. Okay, using the clutch. We're gonna be, there's 2,000 right there. Take it out. There it is, third gear. Okay, didn't use the clutch at all. Same thing for third to fourth. There it is. Okay, pressing down, 2,000 RPMs. Immediately take it out and press it against, and as soon as they match your engine speed and your wheel speed, it will slide into gear. Okay, so now we're at 2,000 at a good 6-speed. The wider range of the gear allows me to explain it a little better once we're here. So I'm at 2250, okay, and I'm pressing down. What I'm going to do is slightly take it off so there's no pressure on the tranny. Slides right out and right into 6th gear. You see that? I'm literally, my other leg over here is literally hanging out. Okay, so now we'll do the opposite. What the opposite means is you also have to know when you come down at what RPMs is your transmission then bogging down your engine. For my truck, it'll slightly go below 1,000 RPMs, and then you can start to feel the motor get bogged down. You want to get it down to those RPMs, take it out of gear, press it up against the next gear you want to go to in a downshift, and then slowly start to press the throttle until that engages. Okay, so coming up on this what is this, a dump truck in front of me, I'm going to go ahead. I'm at 1,500, 1,250. That's good enough. I'll take the pressure off my tranny, take it out of gear, 5th gear, pressing the, and there it goes. Now that sound that you just heard right there is why they call it bang shifting sometimes, because you cannot always be completely perfect in this. Now we're just going to go back to 6th gear, out, and in. That's it. Okay, but like I said, what you're trading off for clutch wear and tear, you are putting into synchro wear and tear, and obviously tranny's a bit more expensive to rebuild than the clutch is to replace. And that's pretty much the basics. So, oh, here's another fun one. This particular truck has a Jake brake, so I can hit the Jake brake and let it slow me down a hill that we're going down right now. taking me down to 1500. 1250 where we were before. So now that pressure's on because the engine is braking the transmission. So I'm going to give it some gas, take it out of gear, throttle up until I find 5th gear, and there it is. Okay? Same thing here. Throttle down with the Jake brake. Gets down to right about where I'm going to be. Give it a little throttle so the pressure's off. Take it out of gear. Put it in this gear. Throttle. And there's the bang. So like I said, downshifting is a little bit more difficult. But there it is. Float shifting or floating. Slip shifting or slipping. Or bang shifting. All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. All right, take care. Bye for now.